I've been asked probably 100 times or more which version of Halloween the Curse of Michael Myers I prefer and why. So let's just do a video, break them down, give you the answer. What's up, you guys? Nick from the Lost River Drive-In here, and tonight I want to talk to you guys about Halloween the Curse of Michael Myers, and specifically which cut of the movie I prefer and why. Now, it's no secret to literally anybody, like anybody in the world that knows anything about the Curse of Michael Myers. They know how much of a troubled production Halloween the Curse of Michael Myers was. It was an absolute train wreck from start to finish, with studio execs, producers, writers, filmmakers, you name it. It just was all over the place. We ended up getting a final cut that released in theaters in September of 1995. Halloween the Curse of Michael Myers. This is the cut that everybody went and saw in theaters. This is the cut that everybody knows best. And it is now known as the theatrical cut because it was in theaters. But there was a lot about this movie that people thought didn't really make sense. Plot threads and story ideas that were left hanging or only half answered. There was a lot of conversation about this movie, people thinking that it didn't really make a lot of sense. Then in the early 2000s, with the birth of the internet, we finally got to see the archival footage from Halloween 6, known as the producer's cut. Right there behind me is a bootlegged edition from the 2000s, the late 2000s, of that footage before it was ever really released to the public. It's grainy, it's terrible, but it holds a special place in my heart for that reason. Finally, years later, we got the best edition you can get for it now. It is cleaned up. It is, the transfers, I mean, it at least makes the footage look appealing. It's a very good transfer. It really does flow seamlessly and it looks professionally done. They really did a nice job cleaning up the footage. But this is the unrated producer's cut. This is the cut that all the things that you were wondering, what the hell does this mean in the theatrical cut, or you thought might have come out of nowhere? Well, that footage is here. That footage is here for you to see how they got from A to B and why they did. But over the years, the fan base has really debated this. What is the better version of the movie? Which version do we prefer? Why? All these questions. Did they make a mistake in giving us the edition they gave us that came out in theaters? Or should they have rolled with the producer's cut from the very beginning? For me personally, I understand all sides of it. I understand the people that prefer the producer's cut because I do agree that it is a more coherent plot, I guess, in the sense of like certain things they introduce, you get answers to. You may not like the answers and they might not make total sense, but you do get those answers. So let's just cover the producer's cut first. So the producer's cut obviously leans a lot more heavily into the Cult of Thorn. It really leans into Dr. Wynn's involvement, the runes, the constellation and the stars, all that kind of stuff. This movie really goes into that. It's more about the cult. It's more about a mythology. And it's really all about a curse at the end of the day, which is what, the title of the movie is. Here's the issue with that. While it does make more sense for the story that they were going with, I just don't think it's a very good story. We can argue and debate all we want about a good explanation for Michael Myers, but I think most of us come down on the same answer. There is none, so don't give us one. Not only did the producer's cut of Halloween 6 try to give us an answer to Michael Myers and the method to his madness, it was a super weird answer that was really all over the place and was like, yes, these rocks and this baby that was explicitly said to have been created out of incest. Why, though, when she could have just been the final sacrifice? There didn't even need to be another one. I mean, so much of it. It's super, super weird. It's one thing to give an explanation for a character, like they were bullied, Rob Zombie's Halloween. It's another thing to say, oh, it has to do with all this weird, wacky, magical shit. It's just weird. It's really, really weird. I will credit Daniel Farrens because Daniel Farrens swung for the fences. We had the opportunity to interview Daniel on the podcast, and he was a gem. We loved talking to him. We loved his insight. And I think that his original idea was a lot more coherent than the producer's cut. See, a lot of people don't really understand that. They look at the producer's cut and they go, well, this is the version of the movie. This movie is heavily perverted from Daniel's script. A lot of people need to know that. Daniel's script really never got to see the screen. This was a hodgepodge of some of his ideas and studio meddling. That's what the producer's cut was. And I just think the version that you get from the producer's cut, while it does try to answer some of those questions that the script originally posed, the answers are super unsatisfying. Some of them are straight up weird and make no sense. And it really just ends up feeling like a movie that I don't even know what you would call it, but not really a Halloween movie. Something entirely different. So I've never, ever loved the producer's cut. At first, I didn't love Halloween 6 at all. I pretty much hated it the first time I saw it. But especially the producer's cut, when I watched it, I just said, this ain't it. So I land on my preferred cut being the theatrical cut. And it's the theatrical cut for a multitude of reasons. I will meet everyone halfway that prefers the producer's cut in admitting and saying that yes, it is definitely more of what the movie was trying to be. It's definitely truer to what Daniel Farrance wanted to do. But that doesn't mean all those ideas were good. The theatrical cut understood a lot of that and took a lot of that shit out. It is not explicitly stated that the baby is created from Michael and Jamie, although you can kind of imply that it's not stated. A lot of the cult stuff is really, really cut down, and you get the basics of it. You get enough of it to understand, hey, the people at Smith's Grove are also in this cult, and they kind of control Michael. And Michael's been cursed from birth to have to basically eliminate his bloodline. Why? A curse. Is it satisfying? Not really, plot-wise, but that is really all you needed. But the thing that the theatrical cut does better, I think, is the third act. Even most people that like the producer's cut over the theatrical cut will agree with you. The third act of the producer's cut is super anticlimactic. We literally have Paul Rudd set down some runes, and Michael just stops because of some rocks. And then Loomis shows up and gets the thorn symbol on his wrist and screams into the ether. It's really, really weird. And it's like, even if the movie was a freight train up to that point, that ending is just like pouring ice water on a volcano. It's just like, what are we doing here? The theatrical cut, although the ending is a lot more rushed, and I do not love the beating him with the pipe and the green ooze from all the shit that was in his blood coming out. What I do love is the operating room scene, which in my opinion is one of my favorite sequences in the entire series. That sequence, I still remember being a teenager and loving watching this movie at night in my bedroom and knowing that if anybody was outside on my street, they would just be seeing my bedroom flashing and lighting up and they go, oh my God, what is happening in there? Someone's going to have a seizure. That's what that sequence does. But that sequence is so mean-spirited. That sequence is shot super well. It's super effective. It's gory. It is chaotic. It is everything you could want, especially for the tone that Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers was going for. So I've always preferred the theatrical cut. I don't think either cut objectively is a great movie. Halloween 6 is definitely in my top half of the franchise, and I love it. I absolutely love the movie. Having said that, though, you'll never hear me saying this is objectively like top 3. It's one of the best. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of script issues. There's a lot of filmmaking issues, ADR issues, you name it. But there are things in the theatrical cut that I think are so strong that it undoubtedly makes it one of the stronger Halloween movies. It nails the atmosphere. I will say, though, another thing I want to mention really quick before I roll off what I like. The producer's cut score is much better, but it's because they really just sampled a lot of the previous scores. I don't necessarily care much for the electric guitar, hard rock score that is in the theatrical cut. I prefer the producer's cut score, but that's a minor gripe, honestly, at the end of the day, because the beats and the notes are still there, just sonically very different. But in the theatrical cut, another thing that I forgot to mention, I have to say this, I absolutely love how they handle Beth's death scene. Okay, look, there's a way to do a death scene, and the way they do her death scene in the producer's cut is just criminal. It's just quick. It's just like and she's dead. The theatrical cut draws it out, and there's this like guttural like as it's happening, and it's just awesome. Like, I remember just one of the first times I saw this movie, I was like, that's scary. Like, it makes me feel uneasy. That's one of the more effective moments in the entire series. So, look, in summation, neither movie is a great movie, all things considered, objectively speaking. Neither movie is super coherent. But the theatrical cut takes the things that you need to know for the basic plot of the movie without getting too much into we just smoked a bunch of peyote land, while also giving you enough of the fast-paced, cutty, actiony, brisk 90-minute, it's actually less than 90-minute, runtime that you would want from a 90s slasher movie. Like, it is all of that and more. Halloween the Curse of Michael Myers is also the last film that, in my opinion, feels like that old-time Halloween movie. It is the last one. Once you got to H2O, a lot of them became glossy. A lot of them became very much a product of their time, and a time that I do not prefer to the previous films. So, guys, I love Halloween the Curse of Michael Myers, and that's a long way to answer the question, but I prefer the theatrical cut, and I think I always will. I know there was a director's cut that was going around years and years ago when the producer's cut was going around, and I know some people that did get their hands on that. I've never seen that. I know it's a mixture of certain things from both cuts. There's also some other things that didn't make either cut. A lot of people say that's the superior version. I've never seen it. I would love to get my hands on it one day. But overall, I just think the theatrical is just a much more pleasant viewing experience. It's much more to the point. But again, completely understand why some would say, absolutely not, it's the producer's cut. I prefer the producer's cut for X, Y, and Z. And you would not be wrong in that, because you want to know what? It's your opinion. Just like this is my opinion. And it's all good, guys. All good. But anyway, comment down below and let me know what you guys think of Halloween the Curse of Michael Myers. What is your preferred cut? Why is it your preferred cut? And what was your reaction to first seeing this movie? What's your relationship with this movie been like since then? Has it grown on you? Have you really started to become a fan? Have you soured on it? Has it always been a movie that was middle of the road for you? Anything and everything down below in the comment section. Please make sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.